on the oil, if the president came out tomorrow and said we're going to make a lot more property available for exploration and drilling, there's a lot of thought that oil prices that have surged almost over $40 a barrel in the last few weeks, by making that announcement that oil prices could actually come down and bring the cost of gas at the pump down, reduce pressure on average U.S. consumer, and of course consumers all over the world. Any thoughts on whether the Congress or the White House is going to move in that direction?
Well, that's a nice soundbite. I used to chair the Committee on Energy and Minerals on Public Lands. And American energy companies have leases on public lands that are as long as 30 years in time that they're not drilling on. So it's not like they don't have those public lands available. The majority of the land that they choose to extract oil and gas from is that they own. But they, the leases that were in the previous administration, the Biden administration maintained, much to the criticism they received by some of the environmental groups. They didn't cut back on any of those existing leases. And the energy companies have a green light. They have leases on these lands for, like I said, 20 or 30 years if they choose to exercise. But the thing is whether or not the oil per barrel, I mean, we're at levels where we were at 2008 during the Great Recession. And with this whole issue of boycott, of course, from Russia, that has further spiked the international market on what is a commodity that is fungible, and it reacts toward world events. We're not going to, if tomorrow every American energy committed to doing X as it relates to increased production, we wouldn't receive the benefits of that increased production for at least 10 months or a year. I mean, it's, there's the capital investment, there's the equipment, there's the drilling. All of that takes a period of time. So whether or not if you're talking about short-term reduction of energy costs, some of the briefings I've gotten here in recent days indicate that there'd be more likelihood that the prices would drop if we could open production that's already in Venezuela, and of course our refineries there on the Gulf are already set up to refine that quality of oil, and in the Gulf states in the Middle East. And we always wonder, and you have some experience in the Middle East from your own involvement, whether or not the Saudis are accurate as to whether or not they're able to increase a certain amount of production by Y or X. They always keep that closely held in terms of what their real production capability is. But clearly, that's where you already have oil being produced in Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states and in Venezuela. So that's where if you get a signal to ramp up production there, the oil's there, and the ability to move that oil to the refineries is there. And that's the most short-term relief in oil prices you're going to see.